Kupata information unataka. Life ni journey pia ni process. For every step una make, it brings a different outcome. It always comes together.
Everything in life is a process. Life is a journey. Life is a journey. Believe in the process. Everything in life comes together. Life is a journey. Life is a journey. Believe in the process. Yeah. Inspiring, informing, and impacting. This is the Konekt.
What's up, everybody? Wow, guys, this is just amazing. It's awesome. Thank you so much for that love, for everybody who just tuned in right on time. The timekeepers, the beginning my coffee, man. Wherever you are, man, you're doing an amazing job. Thank you for the support. Thank you for the love. We feel it over here at the Konekt Studios. Tunashukuru sana for your love. Today we just have an amazing segment just to educate a few people out there. And if this is your story or you know someone who can actually benefit from this story, please share this video. Go call them wherever they are. Wambie, we are live. Please go call them wherever they are. Tell them we are live. So today we just want to understand a few things because I'll directly translate from my my native language. They say a wearer of a shoe knows where it pinches. So today we just want to understand how is the education sector, how are things being done, and how are things on the ground. So we want to hear from you out there if you have any question and you're in that, yeah, and if you're in that that sector, I can't call it a department. Please, we want to hear from you tonight and how are you doing things out there and how are they working for you. So without further ado, today we're joined by a very great team, and you're gonna see why it's a great team. We've tried to bring from different diverse sides, one on the front end and the other one on the back end, just to understand what's really going on and how are things being done in the ground. So without further ado, please help me welcome our guests tonight. And on my just immediate right, we have Sammy. Sammy Kariuki is an international student who is studying masters in health sciences. And he's actually been here, I think, roughly just the same time with the COVID situation, because he'll tell us his story just in a few. And then on my further right, we have a lady who needs no introduction. She goes by the name Jacqui. She's an educator at Swinburne University of Technology in the legal affairs matters. So today we are joined by our learned friend. If you know, you know. And she's a great woman doing great things within our community as well. And I'm honored and it's such a great privilege to have you tonight. Also, Sammy, thank you so much for giving us your time because you might be doing something else. You know, you might, for Jacqui, you have a family, you might be spending the time with your family, but thank you for allowing us to have this time, and we really appreciate that. Sammy, thank you so much as well. You might be at work, or maybe, I don't know, maybe doing something tonight, but you've taken your time. Now, shukuru sana. So tonight we're gonna start with you, Sammy, just, on the other end, just to understand. So who's Sammy? Maybe by just a brief introduction, just tell us, who's Sammy in a nutshell?
Thank you, Pete, for the invite, and thank you for acknowledging that I didn't take time off my family to be with you tonight.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, my name is Kariuki Sammy. As you said, I'm a Kenyan international student in La Trobe University, pursuing my master in health sciences. A lot of people usually ask what that entails, and it's basically a field where we use scientific methods or approaches to help solve health problems. And in this case, health problems will entail like a holistic approach. So psychologically, physically, socially, spiritually, and there's a lot of overlap with what is called public health, and more than 50% of my subjects actually fall within the docket of public health. So, yep, that's what I do, and yep, thank you so much for the invite.
So maybe just to understand your journey since you actually arrived in this country. So how was that journey, and when did you actually arrive in this country, and what are the changes you met or you are met with when you arrived in this country?
Mm, Thank you for that question, Pete. So it was quite an interesting journey. So, like 2 days after the Director General of WHO characterized the COVID-19 as a global pandemic, is when I got my visa invitation. So I was actually told by the visa officer to drop whatever I was doing and like come to get a flight to Australia. So that's what I did, and then 6 days after I landed is when the Morrison government actually closed the borders to any international travel. So I was quite, I'd say, blessed to have like to have been able to come within that window period. Uh, then the other thing, or the changes is that I met is mostly okay. So for any international student visa, there are some requirements or conditions that are attached to that. So one of the conditions is having to do 2/3 of your classes as online classes, as as face-to-face classes, and then you can do the rest as online classes. So with the COVID situation, so far I've been able to do almost 100% of my classes as online classes. Yeah, so that's the biggest maybe change or difference compared to what my colleagues used to do previously.
Sorry about that. So Sammy, my
Yeah.
follow-up
Mm,
question is
mm, mm.
how's that in terms of your adjustability? How are you able to cope, and what were you doing differently so that you can be able to adjust yourself and be able to do the best that you can do with what you're actually given?
Okay, so to be honest with you, Pete, I think it was quite challenging, especially now that you're in a new country and then there are new rules at the same time that you came in. But I was quite lucky, blessed uh, to be hosted by very
This one to me.
nice friends. So they showed me most of the things that I'm supposed to do, and then
Always you want to get again.
maybe maybe the other thing that was a challenge or is still a challenge is maybe the social network. So there's no way of strengthening. Like I have a very weak social network due to the COVID situation. And then maybe for the coping mechanism, I think for me it's just doing what I enjoy doing. So like my hobby is I find things to do indoors. So that has worked for me so far.
And in terms of support and maybe creating a community around you, maybe a community of
Mm.
students, a community of friends, how has that been for you? Because for most of last year or even this year, everybody knows that we are either meeting on Zoom or we were doing things online. But for you, you arrived, and did you know anyone, and how was that for you?
Okay. So actually, I think Victoria has now broken the record of being the city uh, with the most number of days in hard lockdown. So it's quite challenging, especially when you ask about the social, about making friends and making connections. So, but I was hosted by a Kenyan family, not a, like Kenyan friends. They were really awesome people, and through them I made a number of friends. But I think I have less than 5 friends so far for the time that I've been here. But I've been also able to link up with a Konekt group. It's like a men's shed. So we're like 6 guys. And at least there we are able to share about school, we are able to share about family, about relationship, about our faith. So that's the other maybe therapy that I have in terms of a social connectivity. But in terms of school, as I told you, it's been 100% online. I've not been able to meet any of my colleagues, but I was quite intrigued by the adaptability that we are able to have, because we've been able to do like very technical things through the online classes. Like there's a subject called biostat, which is basically about arithmetics, formulas, all those math stuff, and it needs a lot of group work. But we've been able to do it through the breakout sessions and such. But still, we miss the the physical presence of people, because we are generally social beings. But yep. Sorry, Pete, you mute. Yep.
Yeah, sorry. In terms of, you've mentioned a very critical part. So for you, we understand that you studied, you did your undergrad in Kenya. And
Yeah.
what do you prefer? How's the difference between the online and the face-to-face? And which one would you prefer and which one do you think is more effective? Comparing that now you've done actually the two. You've done online learning and you've done face-to-face learning. So which one can you and which one do you prefer?
Oh, so that's a hard one, but it depends, Pete. So first of all, I guess there is a myriad of factors which can determine uh, which format suits you. But for me, first of all, my undergrad and my postgrad are quite different, and I'd say I'd choose a face-to-face for my undergrad, definitely, due to the nature of the studies that I was doing, and also due to the maybe stage of life that I was in. I was still young, so I really needed that social uh, network around me. And then also just being at home, there is something, I think it's more difficult for online classes when you're at home, but here there's it's like it's something that I expected, maybe not to have such a large social network as compared to home. So that's the other factor. But having said that, I think at the like the stage of life that I'm in, I'd prefer online classes, or I'd actually prefer blended classes, but I'd wish to have the autonomy of choosing uh, the percentage of which one is maybe 2/3 is online, and then a third uh, is face to face. So basically blended, but maybe to get the autonomy to decide. Yeah.
And then so far with your assignments and maybe coursework and everything, so I'll ask this question. Are you finding it easier to complete, maybe submit assignments, complete your course on time? And if you have any questions, are the lecturers supporting you? Are you getting the support you need, all the materials for studies? So that we understand how you're actually doing it, and maybe, and then after that the following question would be, what advice would you give someone else who's actually doing the same or got here at the same time and is doing the same thing, learning online? So we'll start with the coursework. how is that going? Are you able to complete on time? And are you getting the materials you need and the support you need? And then after that, maybe just to wrap up, you can tell us, you can give someone advice out there tonight who's going through the same thing you're going through. What can you tell them tonight?
Okay. So with the system of the assignments and the coursework, there's a book called Frames of Mind. It's written by an author called Gardner. So this guy talks about the types of intelligence. So like he mentions like 7 types. There's spatial, visual, there's interpersonal, intrapersonal, so many types, and there's even musical type of intelligence. So why I'm mentioning this book is because of how I've found this system. So compared to the system back at home, I feel as if this system kind of measure like uh, it kind of tries to test all these types of intelligence as compared to the system back at home, which focuses on like only 2 or 3 types of intelligence. So here you're given the freedom to express yourself in there and to be creative and innovative in the assignments and the courseworks. So for someone who's an unconventional student or a very liberal student like myself, it becomes even easier to navigate through this system. So in a nutshell, I think I'm finding this system easier. I'm finding it more accommodating. So for me, the assignments are easier uh, to complete and to submit. And then the lecturers are awesome. They are really helpful. They go like an extra mile to help us with whatever we are doing. So I'm not very sure if it's because of the situation, like because of the online of the COVID situation, but so far I've been able to get the help that I require. The other thing that they usually do is give extensions for your assignment. They're quite understanding. So in case maybe you had to isolate or to quarantine yourself or anything, you can always discuss with them. So for that bit, I think it's more of I've had a positive experience. And then maybe the advice I'd give to anyone in the same situation is basically to prioritize your time and everything in such a fast world where and especially for the postgrad, because you have to work, you have to study, you have to rest, you have maybe to exercise and do your hobbies. So I've learned a lot of self-discipline and the art of or the skill of prioritizing my time and money and everything. So it becomes easier. It has made it easier for me in terms of my studies. Yes.
Amazing.
Mm.
I just like to give a few shout outs to the guys online tonight. There's Olive Rudo, Moses Msioka, Kaloki himself. Thank you so much. Ann Sievuda, Sante Sana, Daisy Towet. I can see you there. Betty Langat. And Betty is actually sending, I think you can see the message Betty is sending to you tonight there. He's saying, Sammy, it's hard to even keep existing friends. I can only imagine how hard it is been for you. Keep smiling and God will send his angels. Thank you so much, Betty, for that kind
Thank you,
message
Vicky.
for Sammy tonight. And before we leave, we let you go, Sammy, and then we're gonna hear from Jacqui. So I wanna hear one hobby you've picked up during this COVID times because you've mentioned a few things. I wanted to twist things a little bit. I want you to tell us
Okay.
one hobby that you've picked up and how it's helping you, maybe in terms of your mental health, maybe in terms of keeping busy and just being occupied. So maybe one hobby that you've picked during this COVID time.
I'll give you 3. So, uh, one is I started running. So there are a lot of parks here. So I do like a 6K run, but very inconsistent because of time. So maybe twice, thrice a week, or even once at times when it's very busy. The second one is I started listening to podcasts. I was introduced by one of our hosts, and my favorite is Legally Clueless by Adele Onyango. God bless you. And then the last one is I love a good laugh. So I watch a lot of YouTube content, local content. God bless Abel Mutua, the Wakurugenzi effect. That guy is so hilarious. He's
Yeah.
therapeutic. Mungu ambariki. We usually send some money his way because of what he's doing. He may not know
shout,
what
shout,
he's doing, but
shout out
huh?
to Mkuru,
To
Abel
Mkuru,
Mutua.
Mkuru. Yeah, and all those content creators, the
Yeah.
cartoon, the Flacos, the Terence Creative, all those people in Jugush. You know, when you're stressed, when you have assignment, you're saturated, you're clouded. You just watch one episode of such, and it gives you a good laugh. It makes you like get back to you to yourself. So yep.
Amazing, amazing. Thank you so much, Sammy, for that. I'm gonna come back to you, but now I'm just gonna go straight to Jacqui. Jacqui, thank you for giving us this chance and this night. It's been awesome. It's been amazing. So, Jacqui, I have a quick question for you. So, in a nutshell, so who's Jacqui? Because I've given that introduction, but I don't know if it has done justice. So, I just want you to tell us in a nutshell, maybe in a minute, just who's Jacqui.
Oh, wow. Good question. I'm many things, Pete. I'm a wife, I'm a mother of two wonderful boys, 7 and 5 years old. I'm an educator by vocation, and that's what has brought me here. My vocation, I'm a daughter, a sister, a friend, an auntie. But the thing that I'd say sums me up, like if I want to be identified for something, it is that I'm a lover of Jesus Christ. And so the totality of who I am is tied in that identity. I'm a product of the relationship with him. And so that is who I am, Pete.
And so, Jackie, tonight we just want to understand on the other back end. So when COVID hit, things changed, and then we had to go online. So how were the changes, and how did they impact maybe your life? So we just wanted to understand what are the changes that came in, and how did they impact your life?
Hmm. So I'd been, I think, 5 years in this profession teaching, and we had not conceived in our minds that we would ever go online. So I was teaching the law justice space, and we'd never imagined our content can be taught online. So it was a real shift. And overnight, we needed to think about how we are going to be transported into an online space. So the concept of online learning, and I was listening to Sammy before talking about the ideal situation, having blended partly online, partly face to face. That really was what we understood to be online, that you have an online presence, but then students can come in and have face to face classes. Now, there was no face to face, and you're told you're going online entirely, and you're starting no preparation whatsoever. So, what I've seen with the changes with COVID and being online, number one is the hesitance students have to turn on their videos. Like you just don't even know if they're there. For all you know, they're in bed for all you know. And actually, I do think a good majority are in bed. The engagement, we were so used to engaging in a classroom environment that you have a conversation. It's a collaboration. You give, the student gives, and then the class happens. Now here you are, you're like, Pete, do you want to say something about that point? And there is complete and total utter silence. And you keep pushing. Engagement was gone. We've lost engagement. It's really hard to get students to engage in that platform. Number one, because of that reluctance to turn on their videos, even their audio is a problem to turn on. A lot of the learning management systems have breakout rooms. So you can put students into rooms, they have conversations. But the unfortunate thing is when you even put them in breakout rooms, you come back, okay, can I get someone to volunteer what you talked about? Silence, my group, nobody spoke in my group. There's some real challenges when you're trying to teach. And the content I personally teach can be very confronting. Very confronting. We talk about issues that are not your average, you're not your daily daily spread. We talk about, crime, and we know in there that there are people who have been victims of crime, or they have come across crime in some shape or form, and that may have been the motivator for them to do the course. We talk about issues of abuse. We talk about, violence, family violence, and other forms of violence. So just really, really confronting type of stuff, very triggering stuff. And in an online format, unfortunately, as an educator, I cannot tell what effect the content is having on my students. I can't tell. I cannot be their keeper in that sense. Whereas when we were face to face, I could see, okay, maybe I need to step a bit back. Maybe I'm going too far into the subject. Some of it is very, really, really quite confronting, and we discuss it in detail. We go really graphic with it. And I knew when to pull back or call for a break, or, we need to pause, we need to do this. I don't do that anymore. Now I just trust that each student is able to take care of themselves. And I often start with a trigger warning that the content is going to be confronting. You need to exercise self-care. You need to do all of those things. But yeah, again, now I can't look for those triggers. I can't look for those things. Then the peer interaction. Sammy was talking about the friends. The peer interaction is lost. I mean, since COVID, so I packed up very few belongings because we didn't actually know what this pandemic would do. I left my desk intact, picked a few things that I thought I'd need for Monday morning or whatever the day was, and we'd be back in about a week, maybe tops 2 weeks. I mean, I'll tell you when I went back what I saw. But before I even say what I saw, it's been, I think that was in February or March of 2020. And I've been working from home since. I've been in an online format. So the peer interaction is lost. These students in the online space do not interact. They don't mix. They don't have any opportunities to socialize. And actually, talking about when I went on campus, it was dead. I went to pick up things. It was I realized this pandemic is going on and on. So in June, I think it was June or July, I thought, okay, I better go check what's happening to my desk, get a few more supplies for the next goodness knows how long. And I went, and oh my goodness, there was no one, no life. It was a dead campus, dead. We're used to walking on campus and there's blaring music. Today it's Bhangra because Indians have a cultural whatever. Tomorrow it's whatever it is. All of that were gone. The students who sit on the lawns with their lunch or whatever, gone. Like completely, completely emptied out. And I think that's a change, that students are not getting the benefit of campus life, which is amazing. The next one is demographic change. The students who we are getting are different. We would mostly have students who are straight out of school.
Yeah.
Now we are having students who are having to retrain. Someone who had a job, has been in the job for 20 odd years, they're now laid off because of the pandemic, or they can't work because of the pandemic, and they're going back to those lost passions. I always wanted to be. Now's my opportunity. So the demographic of who our student is also changing, the profile. And then others, maybe this is the last point I might make, because there's lots of things I can tell you. But the last thing that I want to say that students may not know and may be helpful to you, and I'm not saying this is standard across all institutions, but certainly is where I work. And I know it is also in other institutions. We are not recording fails. If you fail a unit, it will not show on your academic transcript. And I think that's a real positive, recognizing that people have been impacted. And so if you fail, of course, you'll need to re-enroll in the unit, especially if it's a core unit. You need to still do it and pass it. But we're not recording those fails on academic transcripts, which I think students will find beneficial. Now, those are the
Wow.
changes. Do I keep going?
So
Those are the
before you go, I know we have a lot to talk about, but I want to understand, Jacqui, because now you're a mother, and now you're an educator, and now you have to do either homeschooling and you have to do home teaching. How did
yes.
you have to adjust your life to do this as a
Oh
person?
my goodness. I'm about to pull my hair just to describe for you this thing. Oh my goodness. What a change. Like, who would have expected? And can I just say, I have a 7-year-old and 5-year-old, like I said. and I teach adults. And it's a very different platform. It's a very different way of teaching. When you teach adults, you deliver the content, they go away and then they work on it. And there's also some things you don't handhold. You're like, okay, here it is. You need to go and research. You need to go and do whatever. So now here I am with my two children who I'm needing to teach. And it was unfortunately when actually COVID hit, we're just starting the primary school journey. And so we're doing the basics, reading, and all of those things. And it was an absolute ridiculous time because I'm teaching. And when I'm teaching, I'm concentrating on my students. Then in between breaks, I'm running and I'm helping with homeschooling. It really has been a huge, huge burden. And can I just say, though, one thing that it has done is it has made me empathetic as an educator. I have empathy, I hope I had empathy before, but a lot more empathy because I understand my students are also in the same position. My students are also trying to study. They're also trying to work. They probably are homeschooling. So yeah, it really has been a very difficult time, and really one, that we are here today is a real testament that things, there is hope and there is help, divine help in my case, divine help.
So
Yeah.
quick question on delivery of content or subjects online. Do you think it's effective? And what are some of the negatives that you've seen with you delivering? You've spoken about a few, but maybe do you think that this online learning is effective?
Hmm. I'd actually say it may well be discipline specific. So for some disciplines, maybe online would work. But if you told me overall, just to make a blanket statement, I'd
Yeah.
actually say face to face is certainly a much better way to go.
Okay.
Face to face, that learning environment is a lot more ideal because when we are teaching, and I know people favor lecture or whatever, but it really is teaching. When we are teaching, it really is a collaboration. I prepare, I show up, I bring my best foot forward, but then the students also meet me there. It becomes a partnership. The student then engages me with what I'm bringing in. And, I may start talking about something, a particular crime, and a student says, oh, yeah, yesterday I read in the paper this, that, the other. Then we pick it up from there and the class flows. Now, we don't have that anymore. Learning has become very much one sided. It's me delivering, and I don't know how much of it the student is actually taking in. And then the other thing too, when we were face to face, and mind you, I'm talking about my specific discipline, we could do a lot more to engage the student. We could simulate scenarios. If we are talking about a particular case or we role play it, we create a mock courtroom and we simulate it. Or, we also did excursions. We would go into the city, we go into the different courtrooms, we hear what cases are being heard, we come back next session, we'll discuss that. We even went into prisons. We would visit the prisons and see what that is like. Now that doesn't happen anymore. So unfortunately it becomes very one way, a one-sided way of teaching where you just deliver your content and that is it. You're just delivering and you're hoping there's some absorption. So really, in my view, I don't see it as an ideal model. So if I was to be asked, I would say face to face. But of course, then now when you talk about the positives of online is no travel. I really enjoy that. And, I really can practically roll out of bed 5 minutes before class. So long as this upper half is looking okay, turn on my camera and I'm good to go. But no, in all seriousness, though, the travel component has been a huge blessing that, you can do what you need to do. And when you switch off, you're already at home. And I think that goes both ways, student and also for us as educators. And then the other good thing about this is that we now have a lot more students that we potentially would never have had in a face-to-face format. Students who are now joining us from regional Victoria, students who are, even some of them are interstate, who are now being able to do this course, whereas before they would have had to relocate and may not have been willing to relocate, maybe because of work or other commitments. So we are seeing a lot more of those students. So those are the positives. Yes, that
And and
I
and
think that.
just on the other flip side, Jacqui, I want to, before we go on a break, you'll be taking us on a break in a minute. So all these changes, you as an educator, do you think they have had any negative impacts on the mental health of students? And do you have any advice? Maybe you can tell someone out there in terms of coping in terms of doing the thing they need to do to finish their studies and all that. So do you
Mm.
think it has a negative impact, and is it impacting their mental health?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Without a doubt. You know, it's good though to say that there's two camps. There's the students who absolutely love online learning. It's not all bad news. There's those who absolutely love it and are thriving. But then there's some for whom it really is the opposite, and it's having really detrimental impacts and effects on them. You know, their mental health is suffering. You know, the novelties. I'm sure many students thought initially, fantastic. I'm excited. You know, I don't have to travel. I don't have to. But the novelty wears off, and pretty soon now this becomes a reality that day in, day out. And with our lockdowns, you're not interacting with other students. You know, you're not meeting with others. You're really cooped in your room, and, you know, recognizing many are working within the confines of the little space they may have. So mental health issues have really surfaced, and, you know, I'm not saying they weren't there before, but a lot more mental health issues, unfortunately, thanks to that no peer support, thanks to the fact that we've been in countless lockdowns in Melbourne. And I think Sammy said it well. I think Melbourne has hit the record for the state, or even actually overall globally, the place with the longest duration of lockdown. And it is impacting on people's mental health, and students especially. Anxiety around studies seems to be another one that's prevalent. Students have become a lot more anxious about their studies, about their future prospects, you know, about what happens next. All of those anxieties are coming to the surface, and unfortunately, it then means that students are really struggling. I have found students are really struggling, and unfortunately, the only time you realize a student is struggling is when you are reaching crunch time. It's the end of semester, and they know they're about to fail, and a student says, oh, hang on, I've really been struggling, my mental health is suffering. And you think, hang on, there is support. And this is maybe my message to students. There is support. Every institution should have in place a support mechanism for their students, you know, whether it's student counseling or some other support group within your institution. And you should reach out early. Don't wait until the issues have escalated. Don't wait until you're not coping. Reach out and let them be of support to you. So my advice to those who may be grappling with mental health issues, or who are wondering, you know, for myself, I started from the premise of my relationship with Jesus Christ, and I found that, you know, the faith aspect is so important, and it is an important part of managing for myself, you know, that I find that there is comfort in that. You know, I feel there's nothing insurmountable, like there's nothing Jacqui cannot do, and that is born out of that faith, you know. So when I'm faced with a hardship, when I'm faced with homeschooling and you know, and work, and I'm also a student, by the way, I should add, and my study, and, you know, and
Wow.
my community, and my whatever
Yeah.
it is, I know that nothing is insurmountable. But over and above that, exercise, which I think Sammy alluded to, you know, exercise releases endorphins, you know, happy hormones. You want to feel happy, go and exercise, and those happy hormones will happen, you know. And then there's other things like, you know, do the things you enjoy. What do you enjoy? Do those things. And then maybe a big one, which I feel is worthwhile addressing, you know, and, you know, thinking about us as a Kenyan community, I do sometimes hear people say things like, oh, me, I'm done with Kenyans. I want nothing to do with Kenyans. You know, I've had it. And it's really around that right there is nothing to do with Kenyans as a people. It's about the relationships, the people who you've allowed into your inner circle. So part of managing mental health is around being very selective about who is in your inner circle. Who are you allowing to be your close friend? Who are you allowing to be the person who speaks into you? Because the toxicity around some of those relationships can impact on you mentally. So be ruthless about who you allow to be in your inner circle. Socialize with everyone, but who is in your inner circle, be ruthless, and it will help you greatly with mental health for sure. And then lastly, be forgiving of yourself. We make mistakes, we get it wrong. Pick up, dust off, and keep going. Thanks, Pete. I think that's
Awesome.
plenty.
So we're gonna go for a short break, and then when we return, we're gonna continue with this journey. And I can see a few people who've tuned in as well. Thank you, Karen Jerry, for that. She's saying you have a very, very smart guest tonight. We can actually attest to that. And Jacqui, just take us on a break, and then we shall return after the break.
Yes, we are going on a break. Please do not leave your seat. Stay put. Better is coming. And we'll see you right after the break. Thank you.
See you guys after the break.
Hi everybody, and thank you for joining us for yet another great episode of The Konect. We are so grateful that you could have joined us, and we want to say thank you, thank you, thank you. Please do tell a friend to tell a friend, and if you know someone who can benefit from these stories, please don't forget to share, like, subscribe, and that's how you support this channel. And guys, that's not all. Next weekend we have a great guest. We have a doctor live on set. She'll be answering all your questions about vaccination, whether you want to get vaccinated. Here is your fact sheet. So guys, don't forget to come next weekend, Saturday, 7:30, we'll have a doctor on set. So all those questions you have, I know you have so many questions, be sure to join in and ask those questions. But for tonight, we want to say thank you. And if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe, share this story. And if you haven't watched all our other stories, just go and watch and support this channel. And if you have a question, you have a question tonight you want us to answer, please go in the comments down below and we'll endeavor to answer all the questions you have to the best of our ability. And guys, don't forget that we are always live every Saturday, 7:30. Tell a friend to tell a friend, and subscribe, share, and support this channel. Thank you so much for watching, and may you continue subscribing, supporting this channel, and we shall see you guys next time on The Konect. Thank you so much, and have a great night, and back to you at the studio.
Yep, that's how we do it. Thank you, Jacqui, for taking us on a break. For those who are joining us again, we just here and we just want to encourage you. If you have any question for Jacqui, for Sammy tonight, you can write all the questions down on the comment section, and we're gonna try and answer your questions. So tonight with our guests, we just want to say thank you, Sammy, thank you, Jacqui. So if you have any question, we'll be waiting for your questions. But before we answer your question, we're just gonna let's see what happens there. We're gonna read a few of your comments and then we're gonna take it from there. So we have Daisy Towet is saying taking breaks between studies helps. Being sensitive to how you feel and slow down when you need to. Don't be too hard on yourself. So I know something has just happened there, but I'm just gonna go straight to Sammy. So Sammy, I want you to tell us something, maybe something you've learned over the past 2 years. I believe you've been here for 2 years. So over the 2 years, you studying and doing different things in this country, I want you to maybe tell us something that you've learned that maybe you can help someone out there, whether it's in your own personal journey or maybe in education. So we just want to hear your personal journey and personal development and what have you been doing to help yourself, because so many of our Victorians right now, you understand that are in lockdown and people are just staying home, and basically no one is going anywhere, and this is at the time where you start learning new things and you start doing new things. So we want to hear from you, Sammy. We'll start with you. So what are the new things that you've picked up and what are you doing differently during these COVID times and with your online learning?
Okay, so I think to begin with, I've learned that like information is very important. So like part of me being here, part of me coming here was because of the information I got. Like when you're at home, you look for info from very many sources about different places. You check the UK, you check Canada, you check Australia, and all. So some of this information that we get is not like something I've learned while I was here is that some of the information that we get when we are back at home is not actually very true. So it's good to have sources maybe on the ground, and that's why I love this channel, whereby you get guests who can actually tell it as it is on the ground. So there are so many things. The other thing is that while we are at home, we think we view this place as a country, and when you come here, it's more of a continent we have a state maybe like Tazi, which has different legislations, which has like I think it has not been on lockdown for so many for so long. So the rules are different. The information that you get, which may be helpful for your career, are different. So it's good to maybe clarify the information that we get from the agencies and all the sources with people who are on the ground. And then the other thing I've learned, as I'd said earlier, is maybe prioritization. So you may have money, but you may need to you just an example, you may have money, but you need to decide, are you going to pay your fees, are you going to pay your rent, or are you going to buy a pair of Nikes? So there is a lot of discipline that comes in this setting. And then the other thing I've learned is what actually what Jacqui said on the comments, and it will and also basically about the time management. So you need to manage your time. And the other thing about the online learning is that you're able to save on time, because if you used to spend 1 hour going to school, as previously mentioned, and you spend another 1 hour coming back, you have 2 hours. And in a fast world, that's a lot of time cumulatively. So with that time, I've been able to do other things, maybe things that I'm interested in. And yeah, so maybe that's all that I can say in terms of doing things differently. And I've also learned how to maybe enjoy my own company. So with the things that I mentioned, maybe a lot of YouTube stuff, and the the ability of doing things, learning things through YouTube. Uh, so many courses are actually free. I think for the 2 years, apart from the course that I'm doing, I've been able to get so many certs. And I think through that you just appreciate the power of the online studies and technology, basically. So, yep.
Amazing, amazing. It says that it's during the hard times that people start opening up and finding ways to do things, because you can't get a wall in front of you and try get through the wall. You have to find another way to actually do things. So I was asking that because Caris actually came when lockdown just started, and he has actually put effort to actually get a society around him and get friends around him, which is very amazing, because he's getting to know people even with the lockdown. So it goes to other people out there. If you wanna get friends, if you wanna get a society around you, you can actually make it happen. No matter what situation you are in, it's good to have people around you. And then we're gonna have Jacqui back and ask Jacqui this question. Jacqui, within the 2 years that these things have been happening and all, what are the lessons, top lessons you've taken, either on the side of an educator or the side of a mother? And what are you doing, differently within the 2 years, either to impact your community or to help out somewhere, because people have been having a hard time as well, as you had mentioned. So what are the few things you've learned? I don't want to limit you, because our learned friend, within the 2 years, what have you learned? And what are you doing differently within these small things you've been able to do? Because everybody knows in Victoria, you're actually allowed only maybe to go home within 5 kilometers. You have to stay within the comfort of your house. So what are the things you're doing differently, and what are the lessons you've learned within the 2 years we've been going through the pandemic?
Wow, big question, big question. Yes, Pete. The last 2 years have really been remarkable. I think the way you're told about perspective. Perspective is everything. You can either see it from the negative standpoint, but is it half glass half empty or glass half full? Me, I'm seeing it half full. I've actually seen a lot of good that has come out of COVID. And I just want to jump on a point Sammy made about, he said, I've done many different certificates in this time. Over and above my course, I've also done something about improving himself, bettering himself. And I think this is the one thing that I feel, even for myself, it's interesting it's coming from Sammy. That's also the one thing I would say about myself, that I would say I have seen come out of this, is learning to be uniquely myself, accepting this is who Jacqui is. I mean, we had plenty of time where you're not racing from one event to another or one thing to another, and you now focus on yourself. Who am I? What do I really value? What is dear to me? What is important to me? And then starting to focus on those things. So what I'd say really is about being uniquely you and me being uniquely me. That, with our different gifts, we need to be a standout of ourselves. I think for far too long, because we've had so many distractions, we can be photocopies of other people or photocopies of an environment. But COVID has offered us an opportunity to stand out, to stand out, to brand ourselves. Actually, I was invited, and I see the friend who invited me here. I was invited by a friend to an engagement, a speaking engagement online this past week. And one of the speakers talked about branding, that we are a brand. You are a brand. I am a brand. When we think about brands, you think McDonald's or Nike or one of those things, and they stand out. If you see those golden arches, even without seeing the word McDonald's, it's McDonald's. If you see the tick, even without seeing the shoe or the item, it's Nike. And we are brands. But then we shortchange ourselves about what kind of brand we are. And just really to bring home that thing of a person being a brand, you think of Obama, you just see him, you know what he represents. Or you see Richard Branson, and he's about Virgin or whatever. We know those things, yeah? So we are brands. So in this time, I've been trying to think about what is brand Jacqui. What if people were to see me? What do I represent? What am I? And so I've been on a journey of working on myself, bettering myself, equipping myself, and really doing those things that are important to me, those things that are dear to me. And that's maybe what I'd encourage everyone is, let's position ourselves for success. And positioning ourselves means you've got to be intentional. So you've got to work at it. You've got to be really intentional about what it is you want to be or who it is you want to be, and then do the investment to be that. So that really has been for me. And I'd like to hope it will be the story for everyone, what this pandemic has represented.
Thank you for that, Jackie. I'm just looking at the comments. I don't know if you can, I'm sure you can read the comments down there. I can see Rob Cameron there tuned in. Thank you, Rob Cameron. Thank you, Karen, Jerry, Daisy. Thank you, Pauline Wandia. Thank you so much there. So we're gonna. I don't see any questions there, but Jackie, we're gonna just on our final remarks tonight, because I see we have about maybe 8 minutes to go. We'll start with you, Jackie, because I have you on the screen there. So in terms of your final remarks tonight, I want you to sort of any life hack, any advice you might have tonight. It might range from mental health, it might range from education, anything that you have to leave our guests tonight, Jackie. This is your floor. Whatever you can have, maybe another 2 3 minutes. Feel free. I'm not gonna stop you. Feel free to leave something with our guests tonight. This is your floor, Jackie.
Thank you, and feel free to cut if I keep going on and on. So I was just thinking, final remarks, I just think about, there's a story that's told, and I have those elephants there beside me. I don't know if you can see them. Hopefully you can, for a reason. Because, there's a story that's told about elephants, that elephants can carry 1,000 kilograms, a ton, 1,000 kilograms. But then you see circus elephants, in the circus, how they are so tame. They don't seem powerless. They are like domesticated. It's like having a cat or a dog. They've lost sense of how powerful they are. And it really is about the conditioning, that over time they've been taught to just comply, to do what they are required to do. They forget the power of what they are. If you've been to Thailand, you see how they're used, to ride along and things like that. So being domesticated, and it really speaks to about our, self-limiting mindsets. That we have, sometimes we get into a space where we limit ourselves. We start to forget what is in fact possible. We stop to believe in what is possible. And so really my final remarks to us are, we really have so much potential as a people. We have so much to give, so much to offer. And I just think it's time that we broke those barriers, those things that we've believed about what is and is impossible. The sky's the limit. The sky really is the limit. And just quickly, when I was a student, student, I did a very different job. I actually worked at a department store. And I remember people saying to me, that's impossible. Nobody does that. When you come to Australia, this is the job you do. And I didn't. And, you know, I'm not saying in any way I was special, but I think you have to counter the narrative. You don't have to do because people do. If you're venturing, if you're interested in a department store, go and apply and work at a department store, if you know what I mean. So what I'm saying is self-limiting mindsets need to go. And I'll finish off with Jeremiah 29:11, which is a passage of scripture that really ministers so greatly to me, has impacted me positively. And it says, for I know the thoughts I have concerning you, declares the Lord. And you know, a declaration is that official statement. I know the plans I have for you. They're plans to prosper you, plans to give you hope, plans to give you a future, you know, so success, flourishing, you know, doing well are what is in that for you. So not plans for harm. So really for each of us who are tuned in today, really my heart, my desire, my prayer for you is that you'll thrive, you'll shine, that you'll be the best version of yourself. And that ultimately, when you look back, you'll be able to say that you have gone a journey and you've seen yourself get better with each passing day. Thank you, Pete.
Amazing, amazing. Thank you so much for that, Jacqui. And it's always a pleasure to have you here. And I hope we'll have another session with you, Jacqui, just maybe to do with a few other issues. But for now, for tonight, we are grateful here at the Konekt. We'll say our thank you just before we end. But tonight, we just want to hear from Caris as well. So, Caris, if you have any parting shot, I want to understand basically what you've learned in those 2 years. I don't want you to sum them up for the 2 years. It can be something you learned maybe 5 years ago, or a life hack you've been using, and something you can leave our guests tonight. So don't limit yourself with only the story that you've acquired in Australia. It can be from anywhere you've been, but something that you can leave our guests with tonight. Over to you.
Okay, so I'll actually start with echoing Jacqui's words in what she said about toxicity and growing. So I just tell people to try and seek happiness where they find it. Where there's a lot of toxicity, then we shun away from that. And then she talked about growth and not having a ceiling. I used to have an aquarium back at home, and I used to keep goldfish. So there was this saying, maybe from the analogy of the elephants. So they used to say that if you keep a shark inside the aquarium, it will only grow to 12 feet the length. But if you take it outside to the sea, it can grow up to 6 meters for the female sharks. So that's just to echo Jackie's words. And for me, what I've learned is I'm more of a utilitarian. So I tend to seek happiness in maybe everything that life has to offer me. So I tell people to enjoy life today. Yesterday is gone, tomorrow may never come. And I know there are sometimes there may be challenges, but if you cannot actually control what is happening, then challenge yourself to control how you respond to what is happening. And yeah, let's enjoy life, as I said today. And we trust that God has a plan. We trust it and we enjoy it. Yeah.
Thank you so much for those few remarks from you there, Caris. And Jacqui, we want to say thank you for both of you for the time that you've created and you've given us tonight. It's such a pleasure to have you both on the platform. I just want to check if there's anything that I've left. Thank you, Jacqui, for sharing the love down there. Sammy, feel the same. You can write some few comments to our viewers tonight there. Don't be left out. Jackie's responding to the love there, which is amazing. Thank you, Jacqui. That's how the conversation goes on. But tonight, I just want to say thank you so much for those kind words and that insight that you've given unto us for the education sector. I know we've not talked about everything. We just wanted to find out if everything is okay on the ground and if people are coping. And at least we are hearing positive stories. Caris is a positive story. Jacqui is saying people are doing well out there. which is okay. And those who are actually struggling tonight, we're telling you that tomorrow is better than today, and there is a light at the end of the tunnel. Nothing lasts forever, and tomorrow is going to be better. So thank you for those kind words. And they always say, sometimes they say information is power, but today I'm going to change that a little bit, because I was reading somewhere and they say that that quote is really misquoted, because people think that information is power, but how can it be power if you're not using the information? So information is actually potential power. It's you to use it in the right way so that you can actually get the power out of that information. So all we've done today is just give you the information, give you a few tips on how you can go about getting a better mental health space. Go out there, meet friends, stop having a bias around people. Jacqui said, move, don't fit in a box, try something else. Don't go with the narrative, change the narrative, which is amazing. Tonight we're having very powerful words being echoed, and Sammy is saying learn a new thing. He's actually doing certificates while he's still studying, which goes to show that if you send yourself and you want to learn something, you're actually gonna learn it. So tonight we're gonna leave you with this simple task. Find something to do. We all locked down in our houses or wherever you are. Maybe you're in a different state, I don't know. But I want to say, find something new to do. Whatever you've been doing, change it, because you cannot be doing the same thing and expect the same results. So you have to do something different so that you actually get new results. If it's that gym, if it's that run, if it's that walk, if it's that book you've been postponing all the time, this is the time to do it. There's no other time. So thank you for joining us tonight. And for our guests, I want to say thank you so much for your time. Karis, Jacqui, thank you so much. Maybe you can say your kwaheris before I shut the whole thing down. So maybe we'll start with Jacqui. You can say your kwaheri, and then we go to Karis, and then we're going to start winding up.
Yeah, thank you so much, Pete. And like, can I just say thank you so much? Like, genuinely, I'm so humbled that you invited me, and you're doing a great work. So thank you so much. And can I then say to all, you have wonderful, wonderful people tuned in. So thank you to each of you. You know, I recognize names, and so, you know, thank you. So yeah, I could go start to finish, but I'll respond to each of those in the chat box. But can I say thank you so much for tuning in, for engaging, for taking on board what we are saying, and really for making the time to be here tonight. Thank you so much. God bless you. And I just pray that those dreams, desires, the things that brought you to Australia, that you'll live to realize them. So thank you all. And I'll be back. Pete, invite me again. I'll be back.
Most definitely, Jacqui. We will invite you again and again. So we'll hold you up to that. Over to you, Sammy.
Okay, thank you, Pete, for the invite. It's been awesome sharing my experience so far, and then also some of the lessons from Jacqui and from our viewers. Thank you for the comments, for the encouragement, and as we've seen, this is a Kenyan, mostly a Kenyan community here from the comments, and I believe they are great people. So as Jacqui said, it all depends on who we let into our inner circle. And also thanks a lot, Pete, for such for giving us these opportunities. They help us grow as individuals. They are also linking up and networking with other people. So God bless, and hope to see you some other time. Maybe once I've crossed to the other side and I'm not a student.
Of course, from your mouth to God's ears, it's going to happen.
Thank you.
As long as you stay focused and you know what you're doing, and don't look back. Keep going until you attain your dream. Thank you so much, guys, for tonight. And I'm going to leave it from there. And everybody else, thank you for joining us tonight. Thank you for the love. We say, see you next week. We have a great guest, so don't miss it for anything. If you have any questions on vaccines, this is your chance. Tell a friend to tell a friend. And we shall see you guys next week, same time on the Konekt. God bless.